related to a past episode on discernment. What prayers do you recommend for use when experiencing spiritual desolation or in times of tribulation? How do we best prepare for desolation and tribulation? Thanks. And now this is Orlando from Venezuela, where I think he's probably experiencing some very real tribulation.
Boy, no kidding.
At this point in time. And it's probably worse today than it was even several weeks ago when he first sent this email to us.
Yeah. Oh, I have what's called a Desolation Checklist. I probably shouldn't do this, but I could make that available to viewers with an email as well. But basically, there are 6 possible causes of desolation. First thing you really do want to know is, what is the source of the desolation? Now, desolation can come from life circumstances, and those are the kind, you'd want to read my new book, that just came out. There's a book on suffering called The Light Shines On in the Darkness, Transforming Suffering Through Faith. I have a whole thing. So if you lost a job, or the economy's tanking out, or you're getting some kind of a physical malady, or heaven forbid that you lose and are grieving the loss of a loved one, right? These kinds of things, the reason for the desolation, and what you want to do is take up some of the clues that are given in that book. There are kind of 8 little parts on how to deal with suffering there, to just take those up and to try to use those to make the most out of suffering. Remember, suffering plus faith is the opportunity for spiritual growth, for the growth in love and growth in and the actualization of salvation. So, suffering without faith can be a terrible, terrible thing indeed. But suffering plus Christian faith is opportunities galore for growth in love, growth in faith, growth and actualization of salvation. So that book will give you some clues there. Now, there are some other causes of suffering. The first cause, might also, second cause might also be that you have something physically going on in your life. So that would be, maybe there's a hormonal imbalance, a chemical imbalance, something like that in the brain, in the nervous system, and that generally you have to have a blood test done, and of course when that blood test is done, they can tell whether certain kinds of chemicals are in balance or out of balance, and that can be rectified by medication most of the time. Also, there are other natural causes for desolation. They're not spiritual causes, and those would be, for example, if you suffered a trauma, in your life, or maybe you were physically abused, or something happened, right, in your life, and this trauma, or you might have been in a war, and PTSD, can happen. You could get terrible depression from post-traumatic stress disorder. So the key thing is that those also can be remedied with therapy and with some kinds of antidepressant drugs. So that, always check the natural causes first. Right. Did something go wrong in your life? Is there a chemical imbalance? Is there a trauma that you're repressing, or something that could be the cause of the depression? If those 3 things are not there, then you're dealing with some kind of either what we'll call an existential cause, or we'll call it a spiritual cause. An existential cause is the kind of depression that comes when your life doesn't have significant meaning. So if you're underliving your life, if you're just kind of living to, for what I used to call, what I do call level 1 and level 2, and what I described, this is like about a whole year ago, I was going through the 4 levels of happiness. But if you're living for level 1 and level 2, get ready for some good existential depression, because it's going to hit you, because you're going to be in the comparison game, and when you are, you're going to experience in the comparison game fear of failure, fear of loss of esteem, jealousy, self self-pity, inferiority, superiority, and if you're on the superior side, contempt for others, right? Loneliness, and of course the existential emptiness that comes from not living for your true higher nature. You're going to have to move to level 3 and then move from level 3 to level 4, because remember, level 3 alone will not do the trick. If you just have, contributive meaning in life and contributive happiness that comes from empathy, that comes from love, that trying to do something for people, for your family, friends, culture, etc., it won't be enough. You'll still experience cosmic emptiness, cosmic loneliness, cosmic alienation. You're going to experience this higher level alienation from God, from the totality of things, from yourself, on a much higher level. We're spiritual beings. We're created to be in relationship with God. And when we ignore it, absolutely we can feel this existential depression. No question about that. And again, there's only one way out. You're going to have to move toward a church. You're going to have to move toward prayer. You're going to have a movement of faith. And when you do, that kind of depression is going to be alleviated. I go back to that Kanita Dervik study of 2004, published in the American Psychiatric Association's journal, American Journal of Psychiatry, right? It was by Kanita Dervik and 10 other authors. And this study is a very good study, but what it shows is that we are such spiritual beings that if we do not have religion in our lives, if we don't have a relationship in some sense with God, we can expect much higher suicide rates, much higher suicide attempts, much higher impulsivity, much higher aggressivity, much higher depression, much higher malaise, much higher substance abuse, and much higher familial tension. Now, I'm not saying this as a priest. This is what the American Psychiatric Association is saying.
Right. And
the only cause, when you eliminate all the various causes, is the absence of religion.
Right.
The only difference between the only difference between the two groups was one had religious affiliation, the other did not. And of course, they're miserable.
Right.
They have what I would call an existential depression.